think that they're going to accomplish the goals that he has set out to do.
The speech from President Trump was refreshing, re-energizing.
All across the West tonight, reaction pouring in to President Trump's executive actions on the border. During his first hours in office, Trump promised an emergency declaration that he said would put the country on a new path.
The golden age of America begins right now.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. It has certainly been a very busy inauguration day for President Trump, taking part in a number of different events and signing a series of executive orders. And the day is not over yet. Let's give you a live look tonight at Washington, D.C., where inaugural balls are underway tonight. And you can see some of the performers here on the stage right now. These celebrations coming on the heels of executive orders, pardons, and a number of different ceremonies marking President Trump's return to the Oval Office, becoming the 47th president of the United States. A different look to today's swearing-in ceremony, which was moved indoors to protect people from bitter cold temperatures in the nation's capital. A large crowd of supporters gathered inside Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. to watch a parade today. And President Trump wasted no time getting to work, signing dozens of executive orders, many of them targeting immigration policy. President Trump, among other things, is promising to end birthright citizenship.
It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We have very good grounds.
The president's executive orders on immigration are likely to be challenged in court, as you heard the president referencing there. Fox 10's Lauren Clark spoke with leaders along Arizona's southern border about the action that he's taking.
Reactions on these described orders differed compared to what side of the aisle you're on. On one side, proponents praised these moves, saying it'll finally secure the border after 4 years of unprecedented numbers, preventing trafficking and drugs from coming into our borders. But on the other, opponents say that this is not only authoritarian, it'll also unfairly target communities of color and might be unconstitutional.
I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Just sworn in as the new 47th president of the United States, President Trump described a series of executive orders directed at immigration and the border.
Under the orders I signed today, we will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Mark Daniels is the sheriff of Cochise County in southern Arizona, bordering Mexico.
Currently, over the last 4 years, we've seen an uptick I've never seen in my 4 decades of law enforcement.
An uptick of border-related crimes that he says has cost his county over $14 million.
The speech from President Trump was refreshing, re-energizing, and it provided hope back to the people in this county.
The president's wide-ranging executive orders directed at immigration include ending President Biden's catch and release policies, reinstating Remain in Mexico, sending troops to the border, and ending asylum for those crossing the border illegally. It's still unclear exactly how these executive actions will be implemented. President Trump also promised to use executive actions to end birth citizenship, a call that many experts suspect would face a mountain of legal opposition. The stance is also sparking the ire of Arizona Senator Ruben Gallego, calling it, quote, anti-American, posting on X in part, ending birthright citizenship is unconstitutional, plain and simple.
We don't really think that they're going to accomplish the goals that he has set out to do. Quite the contrary, they serve to create terror within our communities, impacting Latinos who are also citizens.
AP pollsters showed that immigration was a top issue for people across the country and right here in Arizona. And some experts said immigration helped President Trump win the swing state. Reporting here in Phoenix, Lauren Clark, Fox 10 News.
And to get some more perspective on these executive orders on immigration that the president issued earlier today, let's bring in Bill Hing, who is a professor of law and migration studies at the University of San Francisco and the director of the Immigration and Deportation Defense Clinic. Professor Hing, it's great to have you on tonight. We appreciate the time. There's a lot to sort through here. Let's start maybe with sort of the most immediate implications for migrants who are seeking asylum here in the U.S. President Trump today immediately ordered the end of a Border Patrol application that's called CPB-1. And many of those migrants who had made their appointments with immigration authorities through that app had those appointments canceled. What is the role of this app in providing a legal path for migrants to come into the country, and what is the impact of ending this program?
Well, the app was a vehicle that President Biden used to create an orderly process. In other words, he told people, if you want to apply for asylum, you've got to get in line and fill out an application on this app and then wait your turn. So there were a few thousand that were allowed to come in each day. Appointments were made for them to be processed. It wasn't a guarantee of asylum, but at least they would get interviewed. But people who showed up for their interview today found out that it was canceled. And so it's disappointing because those folks have waited for many months to get their appointments. And Trump's announcement also that people come in illegally are going to be foreclosed from applying for asylum. Well, that's a violation of international law. We have an obligation under treaties to allow people to apply for asylum who make it into the border. So that's problematic as well.
Do you see any sort of a path for a legal challenge? Obviously, the discussion today with a lot of these executive orders is that they're not ultimately going to be enforceable, or they'll be struck down by the courts. What is your sense?
Exactly. I do think that he will not be able to foreclose asylum for people who are eligible because of our international obligations to allow people to apply for asylum who are fleeing persecution. I think that effort will be struck down by the court. But his other things, like putting more military on the border and prioritizing the efforts to close the border, he can do that. I don't know if he has the resources to do that, but many of the things that he's doing just are for show because they're not going to get very far.
Yeah, certainly to send a message. President Trump also today followed through and reinstated his Remain in Mexico policy, which was in place during his first term in the White House. And this is going to force asylum seekers to obviously remain in Mexico as they await their immigration court hearings in this country. Let's talk about what this means. Is Mexico, first off, prepared to handle that influx of asylum seekers? And ultimately, what does this mean down the road? Does this mean fewer people ultimately seeking asylum?
I don't think it means fewer people seeking asylum, but you're absolutely right. Your question is right on point. It requires the cooperation of Mexico because basically the United States is saying to Mexico, you've got to let these people stay there. But Mexico is saying, well, these folks are not from Mexico by and large. And so without the cooperation of Mexico, I don't think that this is going to happen. That Remain in Mexico won't happen unless money changes hands. Now, there have been times in the past when Mexico has agreed to do a lot of immigration enforcement within Mexico and at its own southern border if they receive the cash to do it. We're going to have to see whether or not the new president of Mexico is willing to do that.
All right, we will wait and see what happens with all of these executive orders that were signed today related to immigration. We appreciate your perspective tonight. That is Professor Bill Hing from the University of San Francisco. Thank you for the time. Good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. President Trump addressed Southern California's wildfires during his inaugural address earlier today, and he suggested Los Angeles County is not able to defend itself from the ongoing disaster.
Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency. Los Angeles, where we're watching fires still tragically burn from weeks ago without even a token of defense. They're raging through the houses and communities, even affecting some of the wealthiest and most powerful individuals in our country.
California Governor Gavin Newsom's press office responded to President Trump's comments on X by posting photos of firefighters fighting the flames from the ground and the air. He captioned the post with, quote, "without a token of defense," taking words from President Trump's speech. The president intends to visit California this coming Friday to get a closer look at some of the damage and destruction caused by those wildfires. And today, more evacuees were allowed to return to neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades and Altadena, where fires have destroyed more than 16,000 homes and other structures. They're returning as a new round of powerful winds increases the fire danger all across Southern California. And today, a new fire started in San Diego County, and it briefly had some people in this area preparing to evacuate their homes. Firefighters were quickly able to jump on this fire that was called the Ted Williams Fire. This was burning in the Poway area. Authorities say they have now stopped this fire from spreading, but they are staying in this area tonight to try to take care of any hot spots. Firefighters are also able to get control of at least two new fires that started in Los Angeles County today. The Rinaldi fire started late this afternoon near the 405 freeway in the San Fernando Valley. That fire is fully contained tonight, and authorities are investigating how it started. Also tonight, police in Los Angeles say they have arrested a homeless man accused of starting another fire today. This one started in Griffith Park this afternoon, not far away from the Griffith Observatory. Firefighters came in, they did some water drops, as you can see, and they were able to quickly knock down these flames. The fire burned about an acre or so, and right now crews are staying at that scene, of course, to keep an eye on those hot spots and make sure the fire does not flare back up. Given the weather they have in Southern California, a high wind warning is taking effect in Southern California in a short time at 8 o'clock tonight. For more on those conditions, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Bill Martin, who is tracking the return of those strong winds and the conditions across the West. Hey, Bill.
Yeah, hey, Alex. This is the Southern California area, the red flag warning illustrated in red. And then again, PDS, a particularly dangerous situation, has been issued for parts of Malibu, Calabasas, Santa Monica in this area. The winds will gust up to 40, 50 miles an hour, perhaps even higher. I saw some estimates on the ridge lines up to 100 miles an hour. This is the strongest time of the winds. This is just a couple stations, but the winds should be the strongest overnight tonight. So around 2 a.m., you're going to see the winds really crank up. And again, at that point, the winds will be funneling. They'll be doing kind of a Venturi thing where they funnel and they speed up off the hill. And so winds could get up to 100 miles an hour. Hopefully they will not. And then as we go into the morning, Tuesday morning, the red flag warning stays in effect, but the winds start to die down a little bit. The strongest winds should be overnight. And then you see the winds, it's hard to follow these actually, but you see the numbers are 18 miles an hour, 15 or 31 miles an hour. This is into Wednesday, but the winds for a brief time shift and go onshore. So it's not, what I'm trying to say is it's not the big prolonged week-long event that occurred a few weeks ago. So it's still under the gun, but not as extreme as certainly what we'd seen before. 72 degrees today in Los Angeles for a daytime high. Today in the area of San Francisco, 63. The Bay Area today had temperatures good 10 degrees, 15 degrees warmer than they were yesterday. Seattle was just 45 degrees, but dry today. And that's been the story. West Coast has been the dry, right? There's a few sprinkles trying to show up here, but basically the whole western United States very dry and continuing that way in the long-range models for a little bit longer. Here are the current temperatures. You can see the cold air in the nation's midsection, mid-30s, upper 30s in Seattle, and then San Francisco in the mid-50s. Mostly sunny, mostly dry, snow showers in Denver as we go into tomorrow. And then the model does this. This is Tuesday morning. So where's the green, right? I'm not seeing any rain. Tuesday or Wednesday morning, same thing. Maybe a snow flurry up in Denver. And then Thursday. So we're staying dry right through Thursday. The next best chance for something is going to be probably on Friday, Saturday, especially in the Pacific Northwest in terms of rainfall. But you can see here, we've got, just wide open temperatures in the Bay Area in San Francisco, mid-60s, Southern California, mid-70s, Alex. So waiting on the rain, waiting for those winds to die down as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
All right, Bill, thank you. And you can find extensive coverage on the ongoing fire danger across Southern California as those winds pick back up, as well as our coverage on President Trump's inauguration events today. It's all up at our website. That's westcoastwrap.com. Our online coverage there also includes a complete breakdown of the president's first day executive orders that he has signed and continues to sign today. You'll also see how several West Coast CEOs are showing that they are ready to work with the incoming administration. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, TikTok thanking President Trump for helping to get the app back up and running here in the U.S. Coming up tonight, how TikTok users are weighing in on the temporary shutdown drama over the weekend. And a Southern California wildfire victim showing gratitude to firefighters for something he never expected them to do.
So it really touched the homeowner that we were able to find it. He was in disbelief. He was telling us to stop looking. We'd already been there long enough.
All across the West, people found a variety of ways to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. today. From marches to special art exhibits, people took time on this holiday to reflect on his mission to ensure racial equality. Organizers of one march in Phoenix say the country's current political polarization means now is an important time to remember Dr. King's work.
We just talk about what would Dr. King say about what's going on today. He would be out here marching with us to say, hey, even though there's a climate, there's a risen climate in the community, to just stay peaceful and show love versus hate.
And during today's inaugural address in Washington, D.C., President Trump said his administration would strive to make Dr. King's dream a reality. TikTok is back up and running once again here in this country, but the future of the popular app still remains uncertain. Fox's Edward Lawrence has more tonight from the White House.
After going dark for several hours, TikTok is now back in business in the United States. TikTok's owners thanking President Trump for helping save their app. The president indicated before his inauguration that he would not enforce a law effectively banning TikTok and wants to work with lawmakers to find a solution. Just last week, the Supreme Court upheld a law mandating TikTok be sold to an American buyer or go dark in the U.S. It was passed with bipartisan support, but some lawmakers on Capitol Hill significantly underestimated TikTok's power.
They thought that it was an app where people spread cat videos and dances and goofed off. They equated it with Tide Pods and ridiculousness. In reality, it's an ecosystem that has created a huge portion of the American economy.
Still, it's not clear what's next for TikTok. President Trump has floated the idea of co-ownership with an American company so the U.S. government would have more control over the app's data collection and where that data goes. But for now, users and content creators are breathing a sigh of relief.
It's a beautiful app. It's brought so many people together. It's changed a lot of people's lives. And for it to just be taken away like that feels so not American.
President Trump says that he will order the law paused for 90 days so TikTok can find an American buyer. At the White House, Edward Lawrence, Fox Business.
And while President Trump is taking credit for saving TikTok and TikTok is giving him credit, it's not so clear-cut for many of Mr. Trump's critics. I talked earlier with TMZ's Michael Babcock about how this TikTok drama is playing out on social media.
People who really dislike Donald Trump have said, hey, look, this is simply a PR stunt. I don't know on whose behalf, on either the president's behalf or TikTok's behalf here, but that, in reality, this was a foregone conclusion. TikTok was never going to really go away. And Donald Trump, again, really deserves little credit, if any credit, for what he did here. Now, it's not saved entirely, right? There was a decision made that TikTok would be banned. This is simply a 90-day reprieve.
And back in 2020, during his first term in the White House, President Trump pushed to ban TikTok before eventually reversing his position on the popular app. Well, CapCut, a video editing app and a sister platform to TikTok, was also shut down over this past weekend. But as of tonight, that app is once again available here in the U.S. Shortly after CapCut disappeared, Instagram announced its own video editing software called Edits. The Meta-owned platform claims it has been working on the app for months with a launch date set for February or March. Instagram adds it will likely differ from CapCut's experience of editing videos on a phone. Coming up tonight, here on West Coast Wrap, 2 people have been accused of impersonating firefighters in the evacuation zone in Los Angeles. The extreme measures authorities say they took to try to blend in with the real firefighters. Also, a major find at the site of a burned out home in Pacific Palisades. How firefighters helped deliver a few cherished items to one family. A couple from Oregon is facing charges tonight after being accused of trying to enter an evacuation zone in Los Angeles by impersonating firefighters. Deputies say they confronted 31-year-old Dustin Nell and 44-year-old Jennifer Nell, who claimed to be from the Roaring River Fire Department in Oregon. They were wearing CAL FIRE gear and they were carrying radios. Officials said ultimately they determined that fire truck was bought at an auction. Dustin Nell does have a criminal history in Oregon, including criminal mischief and arson. One Southern California fire victim says he is shocked by what a team of firefighters from Utah accomplished at the site of his burned out home. Fox 13's Avery Klanowski talked with those firefighters about digging out treasures the victim thought he would never see again.
I don't think any of us were prepared for the level of burned over destruction and loss that we've seen.
In the midst of devastation and structure ruins from the Palisades fire, Utah crews sifted their way to a small victory. I'm Fox 13 News reporter Avery Klanowski. Firemen from here share a special story.
To be able to help even after the fact that you feel like there's nothing left to be done. And
Salt Lake City Fire Department is in the heart of the Pacific Palisades disaster zone in California.
And the neighborhood we're operating in is 75%, 80% loss, somewhere in there, I'd estimate.
One homeowner returned to what was once his house.
He'd given up on everything else, and he said, but I'd really like to find these rings.
Sunday afternoon, these SLC firemen helped someone who had felt like they had nothing left to look for.
He knew where the nightstand, where they should have been out, was located. So we started sifting through that with our shovels and
kept on digging, and these guys were able to find that ring, and we could tell it really touched the homeowner.
Sifting to irreplaceable items, a wedding and a college ring.
That look of appreciation that we were able to find it, he was in disbelief. He was telling us to stop looking. We'd already been there long enough, tried to send us on our way.
Rings found in the ruins and a glimmer of hope for a long road to recovery.
Really, at this point, with the scope of the disaster here, it's the small victories that really matter day to day with these folks, and that's kind of what we're seeing.
Expressing their sheer gratitude.
we want to send love home to our families. Thanks for holding down the fort while we've been gone.
Thankful for the support from California and everyone at home.
We're grateful, and we're definitely feeling the love from Utah out here.
In Salt Lake City, Avery Klanowski, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Great job by those firefighters going above and beyond. All right, finally, tonight, the National Archives is looking for some volunteers to help them scroll through documents written in lost art. The archives say that they have 300 million documents in the catalog and about 5,000 volunteers, but they need more people who know how to correctly read cursive handwriting styles. Documents contain items going back 200 years, and the records run from the Revolutionary War to the 1950 census. The archives say anyone interested in contributing can sign up online at archives.gov. They are looking for a little help to translate that cursive. That does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always, and a quick reminder before we go, check out all the big stories we're covering across the West at our website, westcoastwrap.com. And you can stream our shows for free by downloading the Fox Local app. Let's leave you tonight with a live look at one of the inaugural balls happening in Washington, D.C. tonight as this day of celebrations continues into the evening hours. Have a great night.